Happy holidays. Welcome to another episode of Your Next Move. I'm your host, Evan Saint-Gerard. I got a special guest today. You might be looking at his face and you might know his face from somewhere. I'm going to let him introduce himself. My special guest, please introduce yourself.
Hey, so this is Chris Collette. Excited to chat with you. I'm a realtor up in Massachusetts. I run the Christopher Group, which is a team. I always joke it took me 3 months to come up with that name. But I run a team up in Massachusetts. We're in Mass, Rhode Island, and New Hampshire. I'm with Compass as a brokerage, and I am super pumped to chat with you today about all things real estate or that other quirky TV thing I did.
All right, I'm glad you brought that up because I know a lot of our viewers might be staring at the screen like, this guy looks very familiar. Where do we know him from? Especially during now, people have a lot of off time. They're watching Netflix, hint, hint, and other stuff. They might have seen you on something. Where else besides selling property have they seen you? Possibly.
So as of just a couple of weeks ago, folks may have seen me and a bunch of my friends on Netflix. Back in 2022, on Lifetime, the TV network, I was on the Boston season of Married at First Sight, where I was paired with a complete stranger through matchmakers, professional matchmakers, who paired me with a complete stranger who I married without knowing anything about, having never met, didn't know her name, didn't know anything about her. And I met her at the altar with our friends and family in the audience. First time I ever saw her was her walking down the aisle. And first conversation I had with her was at the altar when I said, "Hi, my name's Chris. What's your name?" So that aired in 2022. It has since been on a couple of streaming services. It originally aired live, like you had to tune in once a week to watch it, Wednesdays at 8 o'clock. But as of just a couple weeks ago, it actually ended up on Netflix. So every year, Netflix adds one or two more seasons, and our season was added just this month.
So safe to say we have a big time celebrity on the show for this episode. I don't want to give the spoilers.
I joke. I call myself like a F-list celebrity.
We don't want to give the spoilers for those who are watching the show right now. We don't want to tell them what happened. So I'm just going to leave it as a cliffhanger for now. But let's talk about the real estate portion of this. You mentioned that basically your group is called, what was the name of the group again?
Yep. So my team is the Christopher Group. I always joked that I didn't want to name my real estate company after myself, but I tried a ton of different names. I asked friends and family. I even paid a company to come up with some names based on the values that I wanted. That could be an entirely different episode because those are probably the worst names I've ever seen. I think that company thought that we were in England and not New England because they were like, they all ended in Shire. Like just some real quirky names. And then I wanted something that sounded like it could be, I don't know, a law firm or a venture capital firm or something. So I've always said if I want to sound professional, I go by Christopher instead of Chris. So I went with Christopher Group, and I'm with Compass, the brokerage. Uh, and our team is in 3 states, Mass, New Hampshire, and Rhode Island, and happy to answer whatever questions about the region, what the market's like up here, because I think a lot of the folks who watch this are just kind of curious about different parts of the country, right?
Yes. So out of the 3 places that you mentioned, which one are you seeing the most traction that people are moving to and moving from?
So in the 3 places, probably the hottest, and it's not just the hottest in those 3 states, but it's one of the hottest markets in America. Realtor.com every year publishes a list of sort of the top 10 hottest markets for the upcoming year. They just published the list. They usually do it in the fall. They just published the list for 2024. And then last year, they published the list for 2023. Both times they listed Worcester, Massachusetts as one of the hottest markets in the country. And what's happening is that people are moving. Boston is about an hour east of us. So our team works in Worcester and Boston. Those are probably 2 places we work the most. People are moving. They just can't afford Boston anymore. Boston's one of the most expensive cities in the country, usually only behind New York City, LA, even North America, Vancouver, those sorts of places.
Okay.
So people are moving from Boston to Worcester because, 30 years ago, they would work in downtown Boston and live just outside of it. Now the businesses and the tech companies and the medical device, we have a lot of medicine and a lot of universities. Those are now just outside the city. So now you can live, an hour west of Boston, drive 30 minutes east towards Boston, and that's where you work at maybe a company like MathWorks that does design software. So we're seeing a ton of people from Boston land there. Providence, Rhode Island, same thing, very expensive. So people are moving about 45 minutes northwest to Worcester. Hartford, Connecticut, people are moving north, and they're landing about an hour away in Worcester. And Springfield, west of Worcester. So what happens is all these cities that get really expensive, they want to find a less expensive place to live, or they don't have to be in the city.
Gotcha.
And all of these circles, it's like one big New England Venn diagram. They're kind of all landing on Worcester, and that's making a ton of people all move there, which is making it one of the hottest markets. It's definitely the hottest market in New England, one of the hottest markets in the country.
All right. So what price ranges are we talking about when somebody's considering, hey, this might be a place I want to look into? What price range can people expect, and what can they get for their money?
Yep. So the two places we work the most, Worcester and Boston. Worcester, they're both big cities, right? So they have everything: $1 million mansions all the way down to $150,000 condos. Depends on where you want to live in the city. The city of Worcester has 9 zip codes, right? That's how big of a city it is. So when you're in Worcester, you could find, I sold a $170,000 investment condo last year to somebody who could rent it and immediately on day one make like $400 in cash flow, where the rent was higher than the mortgage payment. That's like right away, immediately, all the way up to $1 to $2 million homes that are usually on the west side, much more green space, more trees and parks. We always joke that that's where a lot of the college professors live, because we have it was 8 colleges and universities, but one of them unfortunately closed during the pandemic. So we have 7 colleges and universities, including UMass Medical. So the biggest medical school in New England is UMass Medical, and it's in Worcester. It's on the Worcester campus. So we get a lot of medical professionals, doctors, nurses, and med school students. So in Worcester, anywhere from small condos all the way up to $1.5 million, really nice homes, land, etc. And I think a lot of folks know Boston. It's hard to get into Boston, even a tiny little condo for less than $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 in most of Boston, and then all the way up to, one Dalton's penthouse condo sold for I think $45 million and set the new record for a condo sale in the city of Boston at $45 million. And just before that, they had broken the record at $40 million on another condo. So Boston has that as well, because we're talking. That's where Tom Brady lived. So this is.
I'm trying not to make a facial.
It's a city that.
You mentioned Tom Brady's face name. I'm trying not to make an expression on my face, like blank canvas. All right, so we're talking about sports now, since we're Tom Brady out. Let's talk about the sports. What sports do we have out there for the sports lovers that might be considering moving? What can they expect?
Yeah. So we have all of it. So depending on what you're looking for, Boston obviously is Red Sox, Bruins, Celtics. I'm actually going to a Celtics game tonight.
Who are they playing tonight?
Red Sox, Bruins, Celtics, Patriots. Yep, they're playing the Pistons tonight, who have lost 27 games in a row. Tonight will probably be the 28th. That's a NBA record for most in a row. So if anybody's betting the game tonight, take.
Let's not jinx it
on the Celtics.
God forbid something happens. And this is the one that
they lose, it'll be my fault.
Tonight. But continue. What other sports? What other teams?
Yeah, now, so that's Boston, right? They have all the majors. And then in Worcester, one of the cool things about Worcester, so the Red Sox minor league team, right, the AAA team, used to be in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. And I think attendance was a little low, stadium was a little older. So the Red Sox ownership moved from Rhode Island to Worcester. They built a brand new stadium, Polar Park. And the team is now there and has won, I think, the last 2 years in a row. The team's only been operating in Worcester for 4 years, I think. I think last 2 years in a row won the award for best minor league ballpark in all of the minor leagues across the country. So it's a brand new stadium. It's in Worcester. It's right next to Kelly Square, which used to be literally the most dangerous intersection in America. It's 7 roads that all come together in one place with no traffic lights, no stop signs. Just one big piece of pavement where you close your eyes and hope to make it through. They used to sell bumper stickers that said, "I survived Kelly Square." But then the city's gone through this huge renaissance revitalization with things like the Red Sox minor league team moving to Worcester. So now you can go see a game, and it's right next to Kelly Square. So they rebuilt and redeveloped all of Kelly Square. So now you have hotels and condos and shopping and dining and retail, and they're still figuring out the parking issues because that's a lot of cars. But otherwise, the whole thing's been revitalized, and it used to be don't hang out in Kelly Square. Now it's have you seen how cool Kelly Square is now, including the baseball stadium and everything that comes with it. So our team, we actually had my real estate team. We had season tickets to the Polar Park, the Worcester Red Sox. We call the Woo Sox, and we gave away like 90% of the tickets just to people on social media who wanted to go because you could still get into a baseball game for pretty cheap there, $20-$30.
That's not bad at all.
And see literally the same players who play on the Red Sox before they move up. Right, a player gets injured on the Red Sox, he might do some starts on the minor league team to get ready for the majors. So you get to see big league players at minor league prices in literally one of the best parks in the country.
That's not a bad trade-off, honestly. You can actually say I saw such and such before it became big. That's pretty cool. Now, for the people who are not sports fans.
Exactly. Yeah, so Worcester is one of those cities that, is formerly blue collar, formerly a mill city where a lot of manufacturing. It used to be a very industrial city, a lot of mills, a lot of manufacturing, a lot of multifamily, like their classic Boston-style triple-deckers, which means that when a city with a history like that goes through a renaissance, it usually means amazing food, amazing culture, amazing arts. It usually carries that sort of passion and soul and quality that hasn't been, I don't know, made vanilla. It's not boring, right? It still carries all that personality with it. We need more housing, of course. It's one of the issues, but as people all sort of swarm to the city. But it means the food is fantastic. One of my favorite restaurants is Bocado, which is a Spanish-style tapas restaurant that is open, in the Spanish style until like midnight. You can get a full meal at like 10:45 at night. The kitchen's still open and everything. It's one of my favorite places. So it comes with a lot of sort of that vibrant culture. There's an international, give you an idea. There's an international graffiti festival where throughout the year, some of the world's greatest graffiti artists tour the world by invite, and they do art in different cities around the world. Well, I think there's only 2 cities in the U.S. that are on this tour, and Worcester is one of them. So if you go throughout the city of Worcester, it's almost an honor to have this festival do a graffiti mural on the side of your building when they come once a year. So we have this huge sort of library of murals. My favorite one is 2 people sort of in an embrace, like hugging, like they might kiss. And the man and the woman are in blue, but there's an outline sort of their skeletons underneath in red. And then if you stand back on the sidewalk to look at the mural, they set up a red and blue set of lenses, like if you went and saw like a movie in 3D, those same lenses. So you can stand on the sidewalk and look through the lenses and see 2 different versions of the mural as a giant effect on like a 40-foot tall, like 100-foot wide building. So that's the sort of things that you get in Worcester, is all the big fun city stuff that everybody knows, but also some really cool sort of leftover spirit of the industrial days of it just being, a lot of mill buildings, blue collar workers, and a lot of the culture and international culture that comes with that, including.
All right, we talked about the food, so I'm going to put you on the spot. You already mentioned one place that you like. If you can only eat one place, minus the one that you just mentioned, and one dish, what would it be?
That's a good question. It might be because we've gotten into the colder temperatures, but one of my favorite things to do is like a really high quality steak with bourbon. So there's a restaurant. There are 3 restaurants in Worcester that are all owned by the Worcester Restaurant Group. One is the sole proprietor, which is a seafood restaurant, high-end seafood restaurant. Another one is Via, which is a high-end Italian restaurant. And the third one, my favorite, is the 111 Chop House, which is a steakhouse, a high-end steakhouse. So all 3 restaurants are owned by the same company, but they didn't blend it all into one restaurant. Each one
Okay, cool.
specializes. So when you go to the steakhouse, I mean, it's a little bit of a price tag, but they have some rare bourbons, they have some fancy alcohols, some really nice cocktails, and I'm almost always getting a really good steak there. I found myself doing that a lot when it gets a little colder in New England, is going and getting a steak and bourbon to warm up on the cold nights. It might be that. That might be the
Question:
place I go.
because you're in the New England area, you don't do clam chowder and stuff like that?
Oh, we do. We do. Yeah, for sure. That would be, you go to the other restaurant for that, the sole proprietor, the one that specializes in seafood. Their clam chowder is
All right.
some of the best in New England.
I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask the question. How do you say it? Do you say clam chowder or chowder? Is there a specific way you say it?
I grew up in one of the cities that like touches Boston. So my accent is much more subtle than the people who grew up in like Southie, Charlestown. But it's the Ben Afflecks and Matt
That's what
Damons
I'm
of the
getting
world,
at.
right? Those, every movie, that's where they grew up. Yeah, they, in the movies, they always either grew up in Southie or Charlestown. If you watch The Departed, so we have the accent in us. If you've watched The Departed, the movie The Departed, so we all have that accent in us. It just comes out at different levels. So I grew up just outside of it. So my accent is not as pronounced, just a little bit. So for me, and it depends on what crowd I'm with, right? If I'm with the guys I grew up with, it's probably clam chowder. And if I'm with my other friends who don't appreciate the accent, although a couple of years ago, what was it? Was it like GQ or something? Named the Boston accent one of the sexiest accents in America, which is wild. Nobody in Boston agree. We have it, and we were like, "What? That's not true at all." I think we were offended, as if it was somehow made us less tough.
As a New Yorker, I don't know how I'm supposed to take that. I'm like,
that was wild. I remember when that article came out. No one agreed with that.
What makes home home is people who are active, people who just want to hang out in parks and stuff like that. Are there things for them to do?
Yeah. So one of the nice things about Massachusetts in general, right? It's a small state. You can be at Wachusett Mountain, literally skiing, snowboarding on a real mountain with chairlifts and slopes and ski instructors and all those things, about 15 minutes west of Worcester. Or you could drive about 45 minutes east to the coast, and during the summer, you could be sitting on the beach at the ocean, sipping your summer drinks with your Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee. So you can do both because, right, the Appalachian Mountains run through the western. We always think of the Berkshires and the Appalachians in general. That's the western half of Massachusetts, and the eastern half is the city and the ocean. So you can get both. So you get everything that comes with both: hiking trails, boating. You can go down to the Cape or the islands, get a summer cottage rental, spend time down there when it's nice out during the summer, and then during the winter, go do winter mountain activities in the Berkshires, take vacations out there. And it's all within like an hour and a half of each other, depending on where you actually live. And my team sort of operates right smack dab in the middle of it. So we can go both directions, and our clients do go both directions. I have clients that, I sold a $1 million condo in the Strata building in Boston, which is almost touching the TD Garden where the Celtics and the Bruins play. So a lot of the Celtics players and the Bruins players, when they come to Boston, they live in that building, so they can just walk to the arena for games. So I've sold $1 million condos that were like 1,000 square feet with a view of Boston Harbor. But then I've also sold, $500,000 houses that are less than an hour away that come with like 10 acres of land, and the house is 3,000 square feet, and you get a 2-car garage and all this space. So we really do have to be able to operate both the big pieces of land houses as well as the city condos.
All right. Well, one of the things that we started seeing, especially during the pandemic when we first started this series, a lot of people basically were requesting the same thing. They wanted more space. People were leaving the big city. They didn't want to be in condos. They didn't want to be in co-ops. They just wanted more space where they can have the backyard or front yard, or just have space outside so they can do activities, whether it's running around in the trails, walking the trails, going towards the shoreline, stuff like that. We're seeing a lot of retirees, people retiring, and they're going back into the workforce. They're semi-retired, I should say, where they're leaving the cities, they're going in more rural areas to to live and also still have that small downtown vibe feel that they can go back to work maybe twice a week or maybe once a week and stuff like that? Or are you seeing a lot of that happening in your areas?
Yeah, it's a mix because New England is kind of known for that like snowbird mentality, where we get a lot of people, right, who will live up here during half the year and we'll go to maybe Florida. Or now we're seeing a ton of people go to the Carolinas, um, just because
Yeah,
it's cheaper there. You can get a lot of the same stuff, but even less expensive than going to say Greater Miami or Greater Orlando. So we're seeing a lot of that. So what we usually get is the people who want to be in New England during the summertime. So they may buy cottages or small homes or second homes, either or condos like pied a terres, second homes that they can stay in, say in Boston, in a lot of the condo buildings there, or on the Cape. Or what we see a lot too is because we have so many colleges and universities in New England. Boston has something like 40 colleges and universities. Worcester has 8 or 7 or 8 now. We see a lot of parents buying condos around the universities or parents buying condos for their kids who are at the universities so they don't have to rent. And then we see a lot of people coming for that. So I have a lot of medical clients who are either doctor, physicians, or maybe even just in med school at UMass Medical. And their parents are like, we want to buy a condo for, he's going to be here for 4 years for med school. So we want to buy him maybe a $200,000 condo. And then maybe we can buy a second one in the building so we can come and visit. Because if he's in med school here, the parents could be
exactly.
anywhere in the country and they want to come and visit for longer amounts of time. We also see a lot, because it's New England, um, because we are basically the closest international access to the Eastern Hemisphere, like Europe, we get a lot of international families, individuals, travelers. So we end up buying and selling a lot of houses for clients who say need the house for their family, but need an in-law or need a completely finished basement or something so that when their
They have their
family
own
visits
space.
from China, India, Japan, Europe, they can stay. Yeah, they have their own space for a month or 2 or 3. So it's not a multifamily, but it needs to have a
Gotcha.
second living space for family to stay for a long time because we work with a
All
lot of
right.
those clients.
Now we talked about a lot of stuff so far. I know you got stuff going on right now, and we just want to say thank you again for agreeing to do this. Is there anything that we didn't talk about? Any hidden gems, any hidden secrets that we haven't discussed yet that people definitely need to know if they're thinking about making this their final destination or basically a place to invest in? Is there anything that what would be the top seller for you?
Yeah. Probably the only thing we didn't really chat about is the number of investors who buy here. So we're getting a lot of people who want to invest, but they've been priced out of where they really want to be. So they end up finding that instead of, say, buying one building in Boston or New York or LA, they can buy 2 or 3 buildings in Worcester. And because the rents are going up so fast because so many people are moving to Worcester, the rents are
Okay.
outpacing the values of the buildings. So you can buy things that cash flow right away. They cash flow at a pretty high rate. And the rents are going up so fast that the cash flow in just a year or two, you can, I mean, it's good and bad. For my clients who own the building, it's great. For my clients who want to rent something, it's painful. But we're looking at like 10+% rent increases every single year, year after year after year. I bought a 3 family in 2019 in Worcester for 300,000, put about 100,000 in renovations into it, and sold it almost exactly 2 years later for 600,000. Like that's a huge. The average 3 family price a few years ago in like 2018, 2019, maybe that's not a few years ago anymore, was high 300s, 375, 400. Now it's like 650. So we're seeing huge increases on that. So that's the other thing is if somebody's looking for on the investment side, say a 3 or 4 family with a cap rate that's still 7, 8, 9, 10, 11%, you can still find those in Worcester here at price ranges that are, 5, 6, 700,000. I just sold a house for 770,000. It was a 3 family, 3 units. It was being rented. It can be rented uh, for about $6,500 a month. sold it for 770,000. They bought it in 2016 for like 250,000. So we're seeing massive increases, and it's just going to keep going because we don't see any reason for this to slow down. So what was 250 in 2016 is now 750 now. 750 now could be a
With that being
million
said,
in 2 years.
I think we should
So that's what we see a lot
if
of as
someone's
well.
interested in tapping in and reaching out to you and you point them in the right direction where they should be investing their money, how can they reach you?
So reach out to my team, reach out to me. I'm sure
Yeah.
you'll share my contact info. And if they go to christophergroup.com, and group is GRP, christophergroup.com, or you can go to chriscollette.com. Collette is 2 L's, 2 T's, and an E at the end. Either of those will take you to my website. And honestly, if you just search my name, I come up in enough places because of that TV thing I did. But if you just search my name, you'll find I have random fans that call and text me on my cell phone sometimes. Might be a little aggressive. I appreciate the support, but a little aggressive. If you just search my name, I come up in enough places for different reasons that I tend to be pretty easy to find if somebody wants to follow up about anything in Massachusetts, Rhode Island,
Before I
or
let
New
you go,
Hampshire.
I'm going to ask the question because I can see in the background. Are you a dog or cat person?
I'm a dog person. I have you can't see her, but Lily, my dog, is right here on the ground in her bed next to my desk where she usually sits all day while I work. Not a dog person. My girlfriend, however, is a cat person. She's got cats, so we're pretty soon, I think, going to be a dog/cat
The other
household.
question I was going to ask, since you mentioned the dog and whatnot, are there a lot of dog parks out there? Because a lot of people are watching this, basically they're leaving and they want to take their pets with them. So, what's the situation for like dog parks and stuff like that?
There are, it's New England, right? So it tends to be a pretty modern, progressive region in general. So we tend to have, into a lot of our parks and public spaces, dog parks built in. A lot of our condo buildings will have dedicated dog areas where they can walk and take the dog out and stuff like that. So it's we're a pretty dog and pet friendly market in general. There's not a lot of spaces that I've worked with, at least, where they say no pets. I think they'd lose a lot of clients, especially after the pandemic. Like, so many people, it's hard to buy or sell anything now and say you can't have pets when it feels like
I think it
8
might
out
be
of 10
more than
people
that,
have a pet
honestly.
now.
I think everybody I talk to has a pet. All right. So,
It might be.
anything else you want to, any little nuggets you want to drop? I mean, this is pretty much we're wrapping up 2023 right now. Any jewels you want to drop on people, basically, going into the new year?
I think it's going to be an exciting year in the world of real estate because, right, interest rates are really high and now they're coming down. So we're starting to see people who wanted to wait for them to come down, or just wanted to wait in general to see what happens, finally realizing they're not going to come down as far as they thought. Both of those crowds are going to come back to the market. So the conversations I think I keep having with people this time of year, right around the holidays into January, this tends to be when we have conversations about big picture plans, like my clients, do you want to buy a house in 2024 at all? Like, is that your plan? If so, what can we do to get you there? And a lot of the conversations are around interest rates and what the market's like. And the thing I keep telling people is you always have the option of refinancing an interest rate, but you never have the option of renegotiating the price you paid for the house. So
one more time, please.
Yep. Assuming interest rates go down, you can always refinance, but you can never renegotiate the price that you paid for the house. So I'd rather see people buy right now, and then if rates go down, refinance. If they don't, at least you have a house, versus waiting 6 months. If interest rates don't go down, you're going to wish you had bought 6 months earlier because nothing changed. You just paid 6 more months of rent. But if they do go down, buyers are going to flood the market. Houses are going to go back to getting 10 offers instead of 4. And now the prices are going to be higher. And your monthly payment will be exactly the same as it would be as if you had bought it now. The difference is that's your locked in monthly payment because you can't refinance the price you paid for the house. The amount you borrowed, you can't change that. But you can later refinance your interest rate if interest rates go down. So don't wait. Buy it now, and then you might be able to refinance later. Don't wait till later. There's no upside.
I couldn't say anything better than what you just said. The only thing I'm going to add is basically you got to start by having a conversation. You'll know when the time is right. You have to be 100% into it. Basically, that means both financially and emotionally. Do you have the heart and the skin to stay into the game and see it from the front to the end, where you want to start, where you want to begin? The ultimate goal is for you to purchase a new home, or basically whether you're
Exactly.
getting married to a stranger and you're connecting together, basically forming a new family, and whatever the case may be, whatever the situation is, we're here to help. And all you have to do is just start a conversation. We're always available. Reach out to us, start the conversation, and then we'll formulate a plan that works best for you and your family, and take it from there. And that's pretty much it. With that being said, I'm at Saint-Gerard here in Queens, New York. If you have any questions about real estate here in Queens, Long Island, Brooklyn, the Bronx, you know how to get me. I'm always on social media. And Chris Collette, but he's not on Netflix. You can find him.
So yeah, if you don't see me on Netflix, feel free to check it out. It is one of the wilder seasons and one of my wilder situations. Check it out. Reach out to me after you guys have watched it. But if you want to reach out to me directly, you can either just Google my name. I come up in enough places, or you can visit our website, ChristopherGroup.com. Group is GRP.com, or ChrisCollette.com. Both of those will take you to the same place, and they'll get you to me.
Happy New Year to you.
My pleasure. Thank you, Evans.